Good evening, all. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the third show of Her Warrior. Now, Her Warrior was a show created by me to inspire and motivate women to fight their PCOS symptoms. I myself had diagnosed with PCOS a couple of years ago, and in speaking to women, I realized that a lot of them are hiding behind their trials. Some of them are not managing pretty well. And I wanted to do something to help them. This is the third show. And today we're speaking about understanding your hormones and everything to embrace you. I am Melissa Cobham. The global stats for PCOS is 1 in every 10 women. However, after conversations with Dr. Joseph last Saturday, she shared that in her practice in Trinidad and Tobago, right here, the stats is now like 1 in every 3. So that was pretty alarming stats that she shared there. A lot of women are diagnosed with PCOS, and it is said that they are more susceptible in being mentally challenged. Or I shouldn't say that in terms of depression and anxiety and stuff. PCOS is known as a hormonal imbalance. That's the most that they could actually decipher from what it is. Today, to help us understand what hormones is really about and how we can better understand it and making better decisions and helping us to cope, I have asked. I usually say to myself in my head, I call him Dr. Nicholas. But I know he probably something I manifested, I'm not too sure. I have asked Nicholas Jose, a psychologist and a counselor. Let me just make sure this title is correct. A counseling psychologist and original therapist of counseling psychologist and original pain and trauma therapist to share things with us regarding hormonal health. So let me just bring on Nicholas here, and he's going to share with us some insights. Hello, Nicholas.
Hi, Melissa. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I am good. Thank you so much for sharing your evening with me.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here with you and the team and the audience.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. Hormones, something that we women here, and most times when you use hormones in a sentence with women is usually in a negative connotation.
Correct.
But truth and fact is hormones, all of us have hormones, both male, women and men.
Yes.
Have hormones, and it plays a real key role in our life and our body functioning. Just when they go out of whack in terms of the imbalance part of it, that is where we have some problems. So, what can you share with us today? I guess my first question to you is my first question, Nicola, is what are some of these psychiatric, or I should say, what are some of the mood orders
Mood
or health,
disorders.
yes, mood disorders that are linked to PCOS?
Well, um, there are two main ones. Well, depression and anxiety, really, and more so depression symptoms in particular, uh, because the symptoms, as you said earlier, PCOS is caused, as far as science can tell at this point, it's a hormonal disorder that first shows symptoms around puberty. So it exists during those childbearing years. Some of the symptoms include irregular periods, usually infrequent or prolonged periods, excess androgens or male sex hormones, testosterone, and it can increase your body and facial hair, cause severe acne, cause baldness, cause those little cysts that are the PCOS,
Yes. Yeah.
cystic ovarian system, you know. Um, but we don't actually know why in detail the thing happens the way it happens. A lot of the research you'll find, even what your gynecologist will tell you, is correlational. So we
Right.
can't say that because this is happening, this particular thing is happening yet. So what you find is that there's a list of potential causes, including excess insulin, low-grade inflammation, some genetics, according to some studies, and those high androgen levels. Now, that is way too many things to be
Yeah.
the cause of this particular. And the numbers your gynecologist was telling you are 1 in 3. Sounds
Yeah.
about right to me because I get that a lot in my practice. And it's
Okay.
actually because of the show. I'm doing research on PCOS myself to come on here. I realized that depression is comorbid with PCOS. And it then made sense with a couple of cases that I was treating, and we were struggling because these clients were doing all the right things, but they were not making any progress.
With
And it
their
turns out that when we dug into it because of the research and we looked at it, my client was suffering with PCOS and was being treated with birth control to help regulate her period, both of which prompt depression. So even though she's doing all these things correct, she's doing all the lifestyle changes, has made all the dietary adjustments, is exercising, is managing her stress, and she was not getting any improvements. Even when we said, okay, so these things are not working, let's go to medication. Not even the medication was helping. And it's only when she came off of the birth control and was trying to manage the PCOS with nutritional support that her symptoms lifted significantly. So she's had to go back to her gynecologist. She got off of the antidepressants and they changed her birth control methodology so that it's a different, a much lower dose product now, and it's not causing the symptoms. She's much better able to manage. Her period is well under control with the birth control because that's what she wants. Uh, and the symptoms are much better in hand. She does still have those little fluctuations from time to time, particularly when um, it's just prior to her menses, because at that time your body is doing all kinds of interesting stuff. But at that time, she knows that's coming, so she prepares herself for it and is managing it well. Yeah. Um, we don't actually know why depression is linked to PCOS. There are several external factors that we want to consider as well. Things like weight gain, um, the not feeling good about yourself because of the PCOS, difficulty conceiving, all of that has an impact on your self esteem, which in turn may lead to depressive symptoms and a depressed state over time. But even without those things, there are still depressive symptoms that come just with the PCOS, and we're not sure why. We're really not sure why. So, what happens is there should be a two-pronged approach to anyone who's, and sorry, I went a little farther. Um, if you do have PCOS, you figure that out with your gynecologist.
Right.
You may also need to let them know if you've been experiencing depressive symptoms, because at present, the go to method is birth control pills. Because what that does, the birth control actually forces your body into a rhythm because it prompts particular levels of hormones in your system.
Nicholas, I'm happy you said that because it's this situation or the story you just shared was similar to my story, not really depression part, but with regards to treating symptoms in isolation,
Yes,
not sharing information, and something we are all probably guilty of. We go to one doctor, we tell the doctor what we think is relevant to them, not actually explaining everything that is going on so that they can
yeah,
connect the dots. And that's
correct.
something we, all patients, have to be conscious of
Yes,
in future so that we can get treated properly.
yes. And it is very important that you, so the go to treatment will be more than likely birth control, some form of it. But you also need to be aware that birth control has side effects, one of which is decreased libido, possibly even depression. So if
Migraine.
you're using that to treat depression, and out of that you have low libido and it's causing problems in your sex life, and that you understand how we could get into a whole complicated mess
Yeah.
by not taking a holistic approach to it. So make sure and tell your gynecologist if you've been experiencing depression and how severe. Now, because um, gynecologists are MDs, they very easily prescribe antidepressants for persons. They should not actually be doing that in isolation because that's not where their training is.
Right.
Yes, they know how to administer the drug, but administering the drug is not all that is required. There's a whole lot of follow up and support that psychologists and psychiatrists do to make sure that the way you process the situation changes. So if the interplay between your emotional response and your physiological feelings, so we'll use the terminology like that. So your emotions are how you respond to the thing, and your feelings would be the sensations within your body.
Right.
Those are quite intimately interconnected. So if you get up today and you're having a good day, but things go wrong, and your emotional response to those that whatever that thing is that went wrong is sadness, then your body is going to respond with sadness. You're going to feel depressed. Yes. So let's just call it a bit of sadness.
Right.
But the opposite is also true. Nothing can go wrong, but if your hormones are not being pumped into your system in the right levels, you wake up feeling depressed.
Okay.
You
And you
feel
don't know
like
what.
it's difficult to do things. Your brain is thinking all the right things. Your emotional response is defaulting to, I'm supposed to be happy about this, but you don't feel happy about it. Your heart doesn't beat a little faster. You don't get excited. That doesn't happen because the wrong kinds of hormones are being pumped into your system at that time. Yeah. So that two-pronged approach is very important, and medication is not always the way to go with all of that immediately. Lifestyle changes, eating better, exercising, dropping some weight will help with not just how you feel physically. It helps manages the stress hormones like cortisol. It helps pump endorphins into your system. All of those are hormones, and we'll touch on them in a little bit. It pumps adrenaline and noradrenaline into your system. all of those help improve and manage your mood, and they all interact. Yeah, so while we might think, I'm sure everybody's heard about cortisol, that's the stress hormone, and it's make you fat. So
Mm-hmm.
cortisol is a bad thing. That is not true. Cortisol actually, as far as we can tell, interacts with almost every major organ and system in your body. It helps manage a lot of functions, and we don't understand yet what the interconnectivity between the different kinds of hormones means, how they interact to create happiness. Yeah. Yes, you can measure somebody's levels when they're happy. You draw some blood and you check it, and it'll tell you. But we're not actually sure why that level for that person means happy, and a slightly different level for somebody else means happy.
You said, I think I know the answer to this question already, right?
Mhm.
But someone who's suffering from emotional instability
Mhm.
and their emotional hormones are very much out of whack.
Mhm.
Diet and exercise helps with that.
In part, it depends on why your hormones are out of whack. It
Okay.
can be a temporary thing. Um, so it can be a temporary stressor, and it throws it off because you're responding to the situation. It can be a chronic situation where your body has become, and we're all creatures of habit, your body has become accustomed to not pumping these particular levels of hormones into your system. So even when things are good, you don't feel good. We refer to that quite often as dysthymia. Usually, it feels like it's a low grade chronic depression where you're functioning, you're doing things, you're going to parties, you're supposed to be having a good time. But if someone were to celebrate you, for example, you go, yay! Huh. Because it's not as shiny as it's supposed to be. There's just not, it takes off a little bit of polish on everything. So you don't feel like celebrating you. You don't get a whole lot of joy out of anything anymore. You go to have your favorite ice cream, and it's just ice cream is how it tastes. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. Or you can have a traumatic um, response to it, where because of that traumatic event, your brain chemistry is actually changed. So your body is now pumping different kinds of chemical levels into your system, different hormonal levels into your system. So yes, sometimes diet and exercise can change that, because what dieting will do is help you get a whole lot of the right kind of nutrition, which supports proper body function, which will then support the right kind of hormone levels in your system. In addition, exercise will pump all the good stuff in, adrenalines, endorphins, yeah, all the stuff that's going to help you feel good. That's what you want going on.
Mm.
But even in that space, we need to be careful sometimes, because if it is on the extreme where there's a physiological issue where your body just cannot do it, and those are in the extreme and minority of people, if your body just cannot do it, then diet and exercise is not going to help you much. You're going to need medicinal support over an extended period of time, possibly for the rest of your life. For most people, that is not the case. For most people, medicinal support is short term. And when I say short term, um, anywhere from a couple of weeks to a couple of months to maybe 2 or 3 years. That in the course of a lifespan, 3 years is really not a big deal.
Right.
The idea is to get your body back into a particular rhythm so that you're not fighting against yourself, literally.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think we jumped over it, or I think I missed it in terms of what were the hormones we said that you identified that triggers our emotional influence our mental health.
Well, there are a lot of them, and I'll just give you an example of two, how
Mm-hmm.
they interact. So we'll have just an example. So let's take noradrenaline and serotonin.
Right.
right? So noradrenaline, very similar to adrenaline, you release that chemical when you're looking to get increased alertness, and it helps to prime you up for action. So you need to run away, you need to um, defend yourself. It increases your blood pressure, widens your air passages, so it gets you ready. The adrenaline pumps your muscles up. It starts your heart racing, so it pumps a lot of blood into your system very, very quickly. Dilates your pupils. Yeah, gets you ready for fight or flight. The other one I want to talk about is serotonin. Serotonin is linked to well being and happiness. And our levels of it are affected by exercise and exposure to sunlight. So you need to get out of the house. Yeah, get out of the house. You can't be looking like a vampire and wearing SPF 300 sunscreen all the damn time. Go outside and get some sun. Not just for vitamin D, it's to help get some serotonin jumping. It also helps regulate our mood balance, sleep cycle, and digestion. Yeah, all of that. Just serotonin. Doing all of that. So just with those two chemicals, just with those two hormones, let's take a look at some things. If your noradrenaline is too low, you may struggle with underarousal. That means you don't get as revved up for things as you should. You may have an increased tendency towards premeditated or cold-blooded acts of violence. So because you are under aroused, you don't react immediately to things. You will take it in, take your time, you'll process it, and then you will go act out whatever that violent response is or that aggressive response. And you may also be involved in a lot of thrill seeking. So you're racing cars, you're bungee jumping, you're base jumping. You know what base jumping is, Melissa?
No.
Base jumping. Base is actually an acronym for, I can't remember what it is bridges, something, spans, and whatever. So you're jumping off buildings and bridges and tall structures and with your parachute and stuff. Yeah. We can thank our North American cousins for that. It's people. Yeah. So the reason behind that is to try to rev that noradrenaline up, that adrenaline, to get it pumping so you feel good because it's too low. If your noradrenaline is too low, it's likely that your serotonin is, relatively speaking, too high because serotonin manages a lot of these things. Adrenaline isn't used up in your body. It pumps into your system and stays there until you start introducing serotonin to chew it up. Because if you have to run away, you need to run until there's no danger. So you don't want it to get used up. So only when you're out of danger and you realize, okay, I don't need to do this anymore, the serotonin pumps in and destroys the adrenaline so that you don't stay revved up. At least that's how it should work.
Someone is telling us what base jumping is. Bless their hearts. I am not doing any base jumping. All I did was jumping, and I'm good there. Not even jumping, base jumping. I'm really good.
Bridges, arches, something and something and something. Anyway, spans and something. So if your serotonin is too high, you might, and remember serotonin is to bring you down and rein in the mood and manage it, right? If your serotonin is, relatively speaking, too high, you might be rather shy. There might be a tendency towards a little bit of obsessive compulsive behavior. You might be fearful. Your self-confidence might be lacking. And you may struggle with unduly dampened aggression. What does that mean? If you're walking on the road and somebody bump into you purposely and shove you, the response is to protect yourself.
Right.
Yes?
Right.
Get ready because that person is demonstrating that they're going to attack you.
Uh-huh.
If you don't respond with that fight or flight quickly enough, you're going to be late. Yes?
Well, yes.
Yes, you're going to be very late, permanently late. So you don't need to actually get into the fight, but you have to be prepared to protect yourself. In that state, when your serotonin is too low, that fight or flight response is delayed or absent. because of the excessive serotonin in your system.
What about a lady who is always very feisty or quick to be very confrontational and stuff? Isn't that her noradrenaline? That's what they call it. It's
Mhm.
too high.
It might be. It might be. So let's take the other side now. So that was low noradrenaline and high serotonin. Let's flip it. So if your adrenaline is too high, you might be over aroused. So you're too easily startled. You're too
Right.
easily aroused to aggression. You tend towards impulsive or hot-blooded acts of violence. As we say in Trinidad, your blood close to your skin. Yeah?
Right.
You may have a rapid heartbeat. So a resting heartbeat is around 70, 80 beats for the average person, 50 or 60 for high-performing athletes. You might be hovering at a 85, 90 regularly because there's so much more adrenaline pumping through your system all the time. So this person tends to be a little agitated and fidgety because they're always in that aroused state. That would mean also that your serotonin is low, which may suggest that you experiencing depression, have suicidal ideation. That means you're thinking about ending your existence prematurely. Not necessarily doing it, it could lead there, but the ideation. Impulsive aggression, so you're not under control, your hair trigger reactions. Alcoholism, because you're trying to mood manage because you're always feeling so bad. Sexual deviance, same thing, trying to mood manage with sex. And things that are on the edge because you don't feel good about yourself, so you're treating yourself badly. And explosive rage, you burst out into uncontrollable fits of rage, destroying things. And because there's so much adrenaline, you're out of control until you tire yourself out. At which time the serotonin kicks in. It's kind of like Hulk.
Right. Right.
Right. When Hulk is pissed off, he's green, he's huge, he's angry, he's unreasonable. When he calms down, when the fight is over, that's when the serotonin kicks in. It chews up the adrenaline and he calms down. Same kind of thing, you're raging out. And that's just two of the many hormones that run through our systems.
And most of them are connected. So it's like how serotonin and adrenaline kind of links. Most of them are linked like that. So one is kind of there to balance of the other in most
Yeah.
cases.
So you've got, and then, so let's talk a little bit about cortisol. Cortisol, we all know it as the stress hormone. It's secreted from your adrenal glands and your endocrine glands on top of your kidneys. And it affects several aspects of your body and mainly helps regulate your body's response to stress. Yep. So
Mm-hmm.
its influence is across all your systems. In regulating your body's stress response, sorry, I need to make sure that I give you the details. So I'm reading very quickly through the notes. It helps your bodies use fats, proteins, and carbohydrates or managing your metabolism. It suppresses inflammation, regulates your blood pressure, regulates your blood sugar, and helps control your sleep-wake cycle. So when you get up, your circadian rhythm, when you get up, when you go to sleep, when you feel sleepy. Your body is constantly monitoring it so that you can pump the right amount of cortisol into your system so you function normally. Yeah. Almost all the tissues in your bodies have these receptors, and as such, cortisol affects nearly every organ system, including your nervous system, your immune system, your cardiovascular, respiratory, reproductive, musculoskeletal, inti, I can't pronounce that word, your skin, hair, nails, glands, nerves. It affects your body in all kinds of ways. Yeah. And that, again, science is still discovering how all of these hormones that our body produces interact with each other to produce the vast array of controls and management that they do. We don't actually know if more cortisol on its own does this thing completely. Just as recently, you would know, science has found that there's a part of our immune system that's in our guts, literally in our intestines, part of our nervous system as well. We didn't know that. We just found that out. We also recently found out a few years ago that your lungs also make blood cells. We thought it was bone marrow only. Your lungs actually make blood cells. We didn't know that.
Yep.
And as of right now, we really do not know how all of these hormones interact with each other to do what it is they do for us every day.
That person, let's go back to the two hormones that we were speaking about earlier, the
Sure.
serotonin and the
Noradrenaline.
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 Noradrenaline. Okay. The cure for that, or the treatment, not the cure, the treatment for that is gynecological or psychological. What is, where do you
If
go?
if those if you have a circumstance where your body is not producing those levels and you're experiencing any of those symptoms, you can get tested medically and then have the appropriate medicinal intervention if
Okay.
that's necessary. If it is that we realize, look, it's not your body betraying you because there's a physiological problem, but you've had a trauma response, or there's an acute situation that you're treating with something temporary, then the way you want to start is a psychological response. So you do things like mindfulness meditation, so you learn to relax and focus. And it's not the girl sitting in the lotus position going, it's not that kind of stuff. No. Mindfulness meditation is about being present in the moment, whereas the other situations we're talking about, depression, anxiety, are usually about looking down the road and seeing bad things happening. You're projecting into the future, but you live in the present, so let the future take care of itself. If you're able to restrain your mind and manage your emotions, and everybody can manage their emotions with very few exceptions, because you produce your emotions. They're not in somebody's pocket somewhere. They're not on a box not in a box on your shelf. They come from you. So if they come from you, how do you make an emotion for you that you cannot control? How do you make an emotion that's too big for you? Your emotions coming from you can't be bigger than your physical body. So how is it too big for you? It's not. But we're not often told and taught how to manage our emotions. So they get out of control sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. So if you start with a psychological intervention and you work on things like mindfulness, you work on reframing situations. So this person is arguing with me about something. I can regress to an earlier time and I feel like a 5-year-old and I feel powerless and helpless, and then I throw a temper tantrum or I can realize, oh, this person has an issue. Let me pay attention. And if I can hear what their problem is, maybe I can help fix it. Different responses. Same situation. All that's changed is the way you process the information coming at you.
Right. So if we sit down and really think about what is going on with our bodies, we have a different outcome.
Yes. Yes. First, it's very important that you're aware. You pay attention to your body. It's very scary, Melissa.
Well,
From very early in my career, I've had on multiple occasions to explain to adult women how their periods work.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. I've had adult women who do not understand that at that particular time in the month, when they are fertile, is when they are most happy and excited to see their partner. Because that's the time you can get pregnant. That's when you want him. Yes, quite literally. That's the biology at play. They did not understand that.
Wow. Subconsciously. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't understand that. They didn't know that that's what was going on. I was like, where were you in standard form 3 biology? This they didn't teach you
Okay. Learning about the flower or something else.
the flow or something else. Yes. But even understanding that, if you understand and you're paying attention to your body, you realize there are times in the month when you are much more amenable to whatever advances your partner is making, because the biology says it's time to make a new human. It's time to mate. This is when we are much more amenable to excuse and to allow and to bypass because we want to skip over to the more important thing of the baby making.
Is it normal for a woman? Because someone is saying here, Tam is saying I'm the opposite. I get excited right before my period. So her hormones helps her be very excited.
Yeah,
That's
and that is a good example of your body doing all kind of things when it's about time for your menstruation. That I've heard that as well.
right.
Another example of your hormones doing exciting things is that libido getting ramped up when you're pregnant.
That's not
That is
even
apparently
normal.
very normal. I have lots of female clients and friends and associates who listen, they don't know what it is, but they say, listen, pregnancy, wow. I don't know how much of it is I can't get pregnant again, so might as well.
You mean a mind thing? Plenty of it might be in the head as oh
Maybe,
well.
but
But I,
apparently,
I also heard that too. That's why I was like, isn't that normal? Though I've heard that so many times in terms of, but I never really linked it to hormone.
yeah, yeah. And if we take it to another state, let's talk about the woman who's struggling with PCOS and using birth control. Both of those things have effects of creating a depressed state and decreasing your libido.
Yeah,
So you go from your 20, 21,
excitement.
25, whatever it is, up through 35. Yes, you're a healthy, young, vibrant woman. You're involved with your husband, your partner, whatever terminology you're using for him. And you're quite okay if you'll have sex once for the month. How is that reasonable? That not even close to right. And I'm not saying that because I'm a man and I'm batting for my boys, right?
I was wondering.
There's a part of me that batting for my boys, yes. But as a young, healthy, vibrant woman, how can that be the extent of your desire for something as enjoyable as sex when done properly? Once for the month is not even the extent of the coverage for the period when you can get pregnant.
Right.
So, how is that good?
And is it true that sex in itself helps with boosting the happy hormone and helping with
Of
memory?
course, of course. That is why we had that very interesting conversation in the workshop about the baby self-soothing and all that. And
Right, right. Yes, yes. I remember that.
but yes, and again, I put in this caveat: when done correctly,
Right,
sex is designed to be very pleasurable and rewarding, and that speaks as well to the way we learn and the way our reward system works. Our reward system, and as we all know, well, for not we all, those of us who've experienced good sex will know that it is very intensely pleasurable, but for only a short period of time. Yes,
right.
your your orgasm lasts just a short period of time. Could you imagine what you would do if your orgasm lasted all day?
Nothing, basically.
Exactly. Which is why it is short and intensely pleasurable to make sure you come back to do it again.
It's to give you that spike. But
It's give you that spike. So you get, there's lots of adrenaline involved, there's lots of endorphins involved, serotonin, there's, oh my God, everything to make you feel good. Which is why pillow talk afterwards is very good for bonding. Which is why, in part, sex is such a bonding exercise. You just had this wonderful experience with this person. Wouldn't you want to see them again to do that again?
yeah, but my question is, how do you have to talk with unbalanced hormones?
Well, if the sex was good and you're feeling good right after, the hormone are not going to bug you for a little while afterwards. If it was
Correct.
not, if it was not, then you're not really inclined to get there in the first place. And that's part of the difficulty. So if your PCOS is causing that low libido, and you may be trying to manage the PCOS with birth control, so your libido is very, very low. What kind of sexual engagement you're having with your partner? Does he have to almost force you because you're not in the mood all the time? Or do you just give in, well, that's my duty and I have to. So you lay there and you're looking at the tiles, like, hey, we need to paint these walls, boy. Until he done, what kind of experience is that? And how does that affect then the non-sexual relationship? How would you feel about that person afterwards if what you think about something as intimate as sex is, well, that's just something he's had to do? Or I will just brace myself and wait until it's over. How are you feeling about that person afterwards? How would they feel about you? Not wanting them, not engaging them with something as intimate and as important a relationship as sexual intimacy.
You see, many people or many women are afraid to have the conversation. And that goes on to the next topic in terms of many women pretend that they are strong on the outside and they look real, tough. Like everything is all hunky dory, and they're not. Um, is there a technical term for that? And is that treatable in terms of you're hiding behind whatever is going on there? What do you call that?
Well,
Well,
there's a facade. I wouldn't want to give it a name because that would then, you will have a slew of women flooding your comment section thinking they have a disorder, and that's not what I want them to think. Yes. Um, Pretending that deflection, um, that facade, with that mask we wear to fool people into thinking we're okay, sometimes has valuable purpose. Sometimes not. Sometimes we start believing our own propaganda, and that's
right.
when we're in trouble. If you're not in touch with what is going on with you, you're not honest about what's happening inside, you're going to have poor responses on the outside. If you don't feel like engaging in sex with this person and you just let them do it, how then do you describe? I could use lots of adjectives to describe that particular scenario, none of which would be pleasant.
I'm thinking about one and it's not that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it starts with admitting, I am not feeling in this way. So maybe, and it's not a one off thing, it's going on for a while, maybe I need to go check my doctor. Maybe there's something wrong.
What about a woman who does not want to check her doctor? I've heard stories about the lady who is battling with imbalanced hormones. She has low libido, no interest in sexual anything. She experiences the pain, the full works, but she refuses to go to the doctor. Is there reason to think that she's probably clinically depressed or something else is going on because she refuses to go to the doctor?
That could be that could be myriad answers. That could be clinically depressed, yes. It could be a trauma response where whatever trauma happened in the past, I assume it was of a sexual nature, and now there's no interest, so she don't want to get involved. So it's fine. I don't need that because I don't like it anyway. So not feeling fit is not a problem. It's actually a good thing. I'll just live with the pain until it's done and I'm fine. But then that also causes problems in your relationship because you then devalue that particular aspect of human interaction. And anyone who approaches you in that manner is rebuffed on reflex almost because you don't understand quite what's going on or you're still carrying your trauma unhealed.
Should her partner force her to, well, not force her, but how how are you getting her treated if
Plenty
she doesn't
prayers,
want to go for whatever? And to what press?
plenty prayers and pleading. And,
But he,
and I will say from I like marriage and people who get into relationships, serious relationships should get married and stay married and work at it. But if you refuse to do your duty as a spouse, that is grounds for termination of the relationship under the law.
right,
And I don't mean duty as I refer to it only in that way because it is expected of the partners
yeah.
under reasonable circumstances that is the nature of the relationship. Yes, if you're injured and unable to, then you're not expected to. But if there's no reason why you can't, and you just don't, then you are what you do it. You're flying in the face of your vows because you actually did save this person alone.
Right. And that's
And
a true story there.
yeah, and all of that impacts on the person's sense of self. Yeah, because imagine you want to be intimate with your partner, but your body just not revving up. The oven not preheating. That is a very real and very difficult struggle.
Then we have the other side of the hormones where you feel less than in terms of self-esteem issues.
Yes.
There's a comment there saying, I experience excessive facial hair under my chin.
Yes.
Does doing laser treatment make any sense considering their claim that the hair stops growing eventually? However, with the hormone consistently pushing the hair out, does it mean I'm doomed to have this hair issue? So it's like no win.
No, you can have men can have permanent hair removal, and I think laser treatment is the option for that, and it doesn't grow back. So yes,
Yeah.
you can, and talk to the specialist, talk to the professional before you do. Even
Yeah.
though the hormones are out of whack, it's not going to override that permanent. I don't know exactly how that works, but you can get permanent hair removal from different parts of your body without any painful experience.
And from the conversation with Dr. Joseph, in terms of, maybe the hormones and stuff for the imbalanced hormones can be treated.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a one night fix,
No.
and it may take different professionals to do so, depending on what is your hormonal problem, including the psychologist, including the gynecologist, the dermatologist, all the ologists that they are.
Yeah, because when you're when you're struggling with that additional the additional hormones, the additional androgens, and that facial hair, you get acne, you
Mhm.
know, your cycle all over the place, your voice might get a little deeper, mood swings, your breasts may decrease in size, you might put on some weight, you might be struggling with infertility, you might have very dramatic mood swings, and all of that, and he thinking you're just moody and it's PCOS beating you because there's too much androgens in your system.
How does she cope? How does she find what is the treatment for this person in terms of what is the day-to-day treatment like besides coming to a professional and having um, that treatment there? What should she do to cope? How can she talk to the gentleman?
Well, first of all, again, as we said earlier, start with paying attention to what's actually going on with you. Yeah? Young couples should be having fairly frequent sex.
Right.
Fairly frequent is not once a month.
So that's a signal, that's a trigger there first that one off
It
in
should
terms
be a
of if you
flag
want.
that something is not right. We
Okay.
in our early 20s or early 30s and we having sex once for the month? No. Something is very wrong there. The average for a healthy couple is several times a week.
That's on average several times a week. Several.
Several can be anything from 3 to 7. Yeah.
Yes.
But I would say 3 or 4 times a week for most people is quite sufficient.
Mhm.
Again, young, healthy couple, um, not necessarily kids. At that time, kids tend to get in the way and interfere with that, so you have to factor all those things in. But just a young, healthy couple, 3 times a week easily, even when they're fighting.
Even when they're fighting.
Even when they're fighting. So one, she needs to pay attention. If you're not seeing that kind of sexual intimacy regularly, then ask yourself, how often am I in the mood? Because very often as well, women let the men lead,
Right.
which creates another problem. You get into the habit of never instigating it. So he starts feeling like, well, you don't want this and it's always on me. So what's the problem? I ain't sexy too? Yeah. Hey, come on. We have feelings as well. And it is not just for us to instigate all the time. If you want to engage in this activity, you should be able to say, hey, little action here tonight, man. Yeah.
So she should check herself to see
She
if
should check
she
herself.
herself
Pay attention.
is really in the mood at all.
Yes. That's one. Two, pay attention to what happens during your cycle.
Right.
Yes. Start a little journal, take some notes. Are you moody at particular times or not? Do you experience pain at particular times or not? Um, some women tell me they can feel when they ovulate. Not a normal thing. So check and see if that's because cysts are developing, so it's causing a little bit of pain, and you're not to the extent where it's excruciating and making you double over, but maybe they're still small, so you feel it. Yeah. Um, talk to your partner because you might not be aware of what's going on with your moods and what's happening, but they might because they know, oh,
Mhm.
she biting today. Okay, it might be wrong. That was what time is it anymore? Yeah, okay.
I guess it's also up to you to be open and real with yourself too, because your partner may tell you you're biting today, and that might actually make you snap more.
Correct.
So
Correct.
just to be open and understand as in, okay, let me take that and note it because it's something I
Yeah.
probably should be looking into.
Maybe when you're snapping is not the best time to take the note, but in that period afterwards, when you're okay and you said, so I was kind of, all right, snappy. And yes. And
Yeah.
then have a conversation with your gynecologist. If you recognize depressive symptoms, you recognize at certain times of the month you're extremely sad and you don't come out of it easy, all of that you need to include in the conversation. If you find as well there's anxiety, you have anxiety, and you shouldn't really have anxiety, let them know that as well. So if you find in going to your gynecologist that there is PCOS, then you know these things may be linked to my PCOS condition. So we then have to set out on treatment. How you approach that treatment will be individual to you and based on the advice of your doctor, your gynecologist. They may want to treat with um, glucophage or um, birth control right
Yeah.
off the bat. Check and see if there are other options that may work for you, or explore some of the options that are available even within those parameters. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You're paying for that service and the advice.
Yep. And I
Yeah.
think more people are, more doctors, thankfully, are open to holistic care.
Yes.
So some of them will actually refer you to, I guess, the herbal medications. But what I was told was it may not be right for you. So those things you also have to, um,
The same can be said about the prescription he's giving you. So that's not
yeah.
a, yeah.
Does stopping glucose suddenly have negative impacts on, I don't know if she meant to say on your emotional health? Does stopping glucose suddenly have negative impacts on you? Glucose has adverse reactions to you emotionally.
Um,
Metformin,
Glucophage is for managing your insulin,
right?
yeah, managing your blood sugar. So um, having too much insulin, too much blood sugar because of what the, or not enough because of what the glucophage is doing can also affect your mood. So all of that needs to be taken into account if that is the approach. I think more the doctors are treating more now with birth control than with glucophage. I haven't heard anybody using glucophage for a little while for
No,
treating PCOS. That is,
no, no.
yeah, the focus tends to be more on birth control at present. But if you do, then again, talk to your doctor because quite often they tell you take this thing and don't fully explain what it may do to your system.
Yes, I was informed about that recently also in terms of, yeah, apparently there are two types of metformin and glucose.
Mm,
So depending on the one you are prescribed, it may have a different reaction. So
yeah. And you
something
see,
to take note of.
managing your insulin and blood sugar can be done by managing your diet. Type 2 diabetes is excess blood sugar caused by poor diet. Type 1 is because your glands, your organs are not making insulin. Type 2 is usually controlled in the first instance by diet and exercise. So if you can control your insulin, generate your blood sugar levels by diet and exercise, and that is one of the challenges you have that's contributing to this poor mood, then diet and exercise right off the bat is a good way to start.
She's saying that she is trying to get pregnant, so they did not put her on the pill.
Okay.
That's why.
Um,
So
there
as
are supplements out there that can support that activity as well. And there are also natural family planning methods that can help you pinpoint when you are fertile so that you're a little more accurate in your activity. But hey, don't just
yeah,
wait for it. Checking the clock to do when you have to do is no fun. So
yeah. Nicholas, persons who are pregnant, women who are pregnant, their emotional hormones are
all over the
more
place.
sensitive.
They're all over the place. And it is very difficult to manage, um, to medicate someone during, we're very, very cautious about medicating pregnant women. We don't, and when I say we, doctors are very hesitant to prescribe antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds, and particularly the stronger ones when you're pregnant, because we don't want to have any negative impact on the fetus, that new baby,
Right.
that new human. Yeah. Um, they will, if it is necessary, they will. The doctors will prescribe things if they absolutely need to, but they prefer not to. And all kinds of things happen when you're pregnant. Well, for those of you who were pregnant, ladies out there, if you paid attention, you would have noticed that your partner and random people suddenly start treating you differently.
So don't
They're a
worry
little
about
bit
it.
nicer. They're
Yeah.
a little bit nicer. People will hold the door. They'll go out of their way a little more for you. People will, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because even in that state, your body changes. You smell different. You sound different. And all of that is to elicit from the male of the species additional protective instinct because you are with child.
Oh,
And that's a hormonal response.
okay.
Yes. Men will tell you, if you ask them, that generally pregnant women are very attractive.
I think I heard that before, you know. And
Yes.
yeah, and the gentleman got flack and was like, "Are you a sicko? Why are you watching pregnant women?"
No,
But
because again, it it signals our brains have a hardwired function for certain things. Recognizing faces is one of them. Yeah. That seems to be a biological function designed again to elicit additional protective instinct. If you like me, if you like what you see, you're not likely to hurt me. You're much more likely to be protective and take care of me, which is what I need you to do because I'm in this fairly
yeah.
fragile state.
Mm, okay, okay, okay. I want to talk about a very sensitive topic a bit in terms
Sure.
of suicide.
Ah,
Persons
yes.
trying to harm themselves. What are the triggers for that? And in terms of you, the individual, how do you know when, at least before you even get to that, what are the triggers for that? What are the signs that you are
Oh, the signs. Okay. Um, well, one, September is Suicide Prevention Month.
right?
And I'm posting a lot of stuff on self-harm this month, so that's included in there. Suicidal ideation, thinking about ending your life is not a terrible thing in itself. It is a frustration response. It usually suggests that you are in a situation that is difficult, you feel helpless, and you do not see an end to that situation. Unless, of course, you die. Usually, that thinking, that process of analyzing the situation is incorrect because you don't factor into that the real um, lifelong experience that you will change. Nothing remains the same. You will change. So if you change the manner in which you engage the situation, the manner in which you engage the circumstances, and even the circumstances themselves will change. So that disastrous outcome that your mind is projecting is much less likely to happen than you currently think. Yeah. And suicidal ideation has become much more of a topic in recent years because we're realizing modern society is not structured generally to support the individual. It is not set up for our mental well being. Modern society, and particularly in our capitalist state on the western side of the world, is focused very heavily on self centered acquisition of things. That is contrary to how we were designed. We were designed for relationship. We were designed to share, to love, and to be loved. Self-centered acquisition does not encourage those kinds of relationships. So there's a long, difficult work week. There is no consideration for people's purpose and passion and happiness generally and well-being. There is little time to support family structures. There, so let's draw a direct example. Yeah. Our neighbors to the north, the United States, for example, where we emulate almost everything. Do you know they have no maternity protection laws?
No, I didn't know that.
So in Trinidad, our little, according to their president, S-whole country, we guarantee 14 weeks of paid leave for new mothers. That can be extended by a further 12 weeks of medical leave and non-medical leave. It's in the act, look it up. And it's not optional. You have to get it if you request it. They don't have that in the US. You are not guaranteed a job if you go on maternity leave for as little as a month. It's at your employer's discretion. Whereas in Trinidad, your employer must guarantee your job or one of equivalent ranking for your return at the end of your maternity. Must.
And that 12 weeks extra is to cover postpartum and anything.
It can, yes. You can get, so the medical portion of it has to be certified by a doctor. The non-medical portion can be pretty much anything. You don't have babysitting, you not ready to come out, you don't have transport, that additional 12 weeks is not paid, but you can get that leave. Yeah. In many circumstances, we're emulating things that are generally not good for us. We're not creating structures to support the family. So how does a woman who is trying to help make ends meet, yes, we need 2 incomes to run the household, and she has to go have a child, but then at the end of the 3 months, she doesn't want to go back to work because she's still bonding with this little person, and you can't find daycare that you want, or you may want to stay home and homeschool that child for the first year or 2. Well, what do you do? That's frustrating. Just the act of giving birth sometimes prompts depressive symptoms, as we all call it, postpartum. Some people have it, some people don't. Some people it's just a little moodiness. Some people it's a very severe, deep depression. And you can end up in bad spaces. I think it's a couple of years ago, the lady in Tobago who climbed up on the roof and jumped off, and her child was just a few months. And they knew they were treating with her, and they just ran away to the grocery, and my girl climbed up on the roof. Understand how powerful that pit is that you're in, where you can override your self-protective instinct and take your own life. That is a very difficult thing to do. But it is not because the person is weak or cowardly or anything of the kind. They're just in a very deep hole and they cannot see it getting better. It is a very, very scary place to be.
It is, and that's what I'm wondering. Is there anything anything to pinpoint at the person who's on the
yes,
outside?
so you need to look for some symptoms. Some of the things can be, one, they just start talking about hurting themselves or taking their own life, saying things like, well, it'd better if I wasn't here. Right. That get kind of dark, kind of fast. How you reach there? Take that seriously. If they start giving away their important personal possessions. Yeah, so your favorite watch, your favorite chain, your ring, your what stuff you don't part with for no, but you all of a sudden you're giving it away. You're giving the grandchildren, you're giving the friends, you're giving your stuff away. That's an important sign. If they become withdrawn for long periods of times, you're vivacious and you're always out there, and then all of a sudden you ain't seen them for weeks, they're returning your calls, they're not responding to your messages. Something might be going on. Check on them. If you notice they're missing a lot of work and suddenly complaining about being ill all the time, um, or they withdrawn even in the workspace if they are there, or they stop taking care of themselves. You pass them and you realize you're always dolls up today. It ain't no makeup. I ain't too sure your shower was going. The shirt and iron, the outfit. Not what is going on? So the self care starts falling away. That may be a sign. If you notice that maybe they're taking lots of pills, some kind of medication that you don't know what it's about, all of a sudden, and you notice those other mood things, pay attention. Something may be going on. Self-harm may also look like, and maybe a precursor to suicidal ideation. If you see all of a sudden they're wearing long sleeves, yeah, I mean, not like you're going to work and you're a man and you're wearing a long sleeve shirt, right? But you're walking outside in the hot sun and this person in a hoodie, 12 o'clock in the day, in Trinidad, you're in a hoodie. Where you come from? And then I call, why you in a hoodie? Because it has long sleeves. So I'm hiding the scars on my hands, the cuts on my hands, the abrasions, so nobody can see them.
There's a hotline you call or something to report, because I'm just thinking if one of your family members are at that stage, even questioning them too much might be risking things for them to actually doing what they want to do.
Yes, so there are hotlines in the country.
You call the police?
You can find a lot of them on Lifeline is the most popular one. The number is 800-5588, and it is 24/7 and it's free. That is 800-5588. Yeah. If you don't want to go to that, there are other options that you can use on Find Care TT. FindCareTT.com has lots of free services, mental health services in the country. If you're concerned about someone or if they've attempted to harm themselves, take them to your nearest healthcare facility, your nearest medical public healthcare facility, and they will route that person. Once they stabilize them and they make sure they're okay, they will route them to the psychiatric unit, and they will assess them and help stabilize them before they release them back into your care.
Okay. That's good information to know, because it's scary in terms of what you just mentioned there.
Yeah.
Knowing your loved ones are possibly thinking about hurting themselves and not being able to do anything about it.
Yes. I'm glad you said that. The things you should not say to people who are struggling with depression or suicidal ideation, do not say things like, well, just get over it now. Or you're weak, or you're stupid, or you're just looking for attention. Not at all. Not at all. Don't add to the person's burden. You may not understand, and that's fine. Just admit you don't understand, but try to get them to the help that they need so your loved one will be around.
You need to remember those things, because sometimes we are very quick to judge.
We are.
We are very quick to judge. And on the flip side, if you are battling with depression, and someone says that to you, just know that you shouldn't tolerate it.
No.
No. You walk away. You don't have to listen to that person.
Yeah, definitely don't.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely don't. And please, reach out and find some help. There is help out there. The the public system, the um, public hospitals all have support. We've decentralized a lot of these services. The government has decentralized a lot of these services. There are tremendous resources out there.
The health centers, they can support also.
Yes, they can. If they don't. Not all of them have this. They were still building it out. If
Right.
they don't, they'll tell you, and they'll tell you where you can go, or
Mhm.
you can check findcareTT.com.
I
There's
remember
lots of
seeing that
resources
site.
there. Yes, or even the Ministry of Health's website. You can look for mental health services on their website. They do have a listing, and it lists exactly what services are available in what health center in each district in the country. And
Yep.
those services are free.
So ladies, if you are battling and we know our hormones can send us,
Hmm?
provoke us to do certain things that we're not too fond of. And if you are battling with some sort of mental health disorder, to reach out to those sites, and
Yeah. If
not
you
and try not to do it alone.
if you want to do it privately as well, please also check out you can get a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I don't know where there's a listing for the psychiatrists. They're medical professionals, so they're not listed the same way. But the Psychology Association on psychologytt.org has a listing of its professionals and their locations and contacts. It's a very easy to find. Just go down the list and find somebody who looks right to you.
And you don't have to stay with that person. You try them out. You don't like them. Go to the next.
Correct. Fit, or the right fit, is very important. Just like a significant other, the right fit is important.
Very important. Nicholas, we have been chatting for a while, and I know the audience may have some questions. So, guys, this is the opportunity for you to ask Nicholas any questions that you may have. Just tell us in the chat, and we will try and address that. In the interim, um, all of these shows were streamed live or are streamed live. I did ask persons to register if they wanted to put forward questions in a private way, because not everyone wants to actually share their questions in public. And
Hmm.
we did get two questions, so I'm going to put those up.
Sure.
Um, uh, One in no particular order. I'm going to put those up. The first one is what to do for better sleep, and we didn't touch on this, but how important is sleep in battling your hormonal imbalance?
Ooh. Yeah, sleep is a whole episode by itself. So, short answer is very.
Very
Sleep
important.
is crucial. No, let me not say it like that. The right amount of sleep regularly, and that is every night, is important to your mental well being. And the right amount of sleep is between 7 and 9 hours for adults
Seven.
to
I would say,
9 every night.
and why are you stressing on night? If I get 7 hours during the day, would it be the same thing?
No, because human beings sleep at night. So, in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, there's actually a sleep disorder that is called shift disorder. I may have that a little wrong, but it's shift really. So, people who work nights for
Right.
2 and sleep during the day suffer with things like difficulty concentrating, weight gain, mood swings, um, problems finishing things, uh, anger management difficulty, a whole range of, because they're not sleeping when they're supposed to be sleeping.
That just you open up a whole set of questions there with regards to, because there are a lot
Yes.
of people who prefer to stay up late, although they're not working shift, they're not in that profession. They stay up late and they prefer to do the burn the night oil. That's what it is. Doing the midnight oil
Mhm.
thing, not recognizing it's creating problems for them. So although they think they're sleeping in the day, it's not the same.
No, it's not the same. So let's answer that a little directly. What to do for better sleep? One, create a regular habit around sleep. So don't go in your bed at whatever hour and take your phone and then play a game and catch up on your social media and watch TV for 2 hours and then kind of fall asleep and then the alarm clock go off. And no, don't do that. That's not a regular ritual. You're confusing your body with a whole lot of different signals. That is not good for you. If you're trying to get, let's use 8 hours of the average, 7 and 9, yeah, 8 hours.
Mhm.
If you want to get 8 hours and you have to get up at 6, that means you need to be in bed for sleep by 10. So you can't be getting ready to go to bed at 10 and then it take you half an hour to comb your hair and talk to your friend and do no. You had to start talking to your friend at 9 because you had to bathe and comb your hair and put in the curlers and see about the children and pack the bag and all them other things you had to do before you go and sleep. You had to get all of that done before 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, the TV needs to be off, the room needs to be dark, you need to be in a comfortable bed with your partner or by yourself, not with your child. Your child's supposed to be sleeping in another room in their own bed.
That's a different story, a different show.
So yeah, I hope that fall in people garden. That's a whole conversation. Yeah, 10 o'clock in bed, screens off, turn it off, relax, get some sleep. Yeah, create the routine. Sometimes making sure, and you create patterns by doing things repetitively. So if before you go to sleep, you have a shower, comb your hair. Every time you do that, you signal in your body it's time to go to sleep. But if after that you stop one day and you play on your phone, and then you call your friend and you talk for, what are we doing? It's confusing the signals. So if the routine is have a shower, comb the hair, bed, that's the routine. And that's every night. Do that. One, routine. Two, make sure you're eating and exercising properly. Eating properly is not everything within arm's length. No, a nice, well balanced diet, fruits and veggies. Make sure you're getting your vitamins and minerals, particularly for women because you're ovulating, because you're menstruating and you're losing blood. Make sure you have iron in your diet, so your dark green leafies. Don't jump on a supplement unless the doctor tells you, because that can cause other problems if you have too much iron in your system. Yeah, get it from your food, cooking cast iron pots, that actually works. Eating properly, exercising, so you get all the endorphins, you have all the adrenaline in your system, you have, yeah, all your body is nice and tired, your muscles are well exercised and toned. That will also help sleep. Manage your stress. Leave the work mess at home. Leave the work mess at work. When you leave the office, hang all the troubles from the office on the door. Say, I'll pick you all up in the morning and leave it and go home. If you have to and you need some assistance, try some mindfulness meditation so that you can be in the present, so you can manage the emotions, so you can regulate the thoughts, so that you can get uninterrupted, healthy sleep. If you're doing all of those things, you're still struggling, there are sleep aids that are available over the counter, herbal things from chamomile tea through sleep aid, through valerian and melatonin, and all of those things. They tend to be a little stronger as you go up through the different kinds of things. Start at the low end for a little bit of support, and if that doesn't work, then go up. Don't start with a hammer, a sledgehammer, if all you need is a little, a thimble. Don't do that. Good sex is also a good way to relieve your stress. And
Well, sex is a vitamins.
all right, darling, you go ahead and knock on with your bad self. That, like that, you're gonna have that. I will listen to that one. Yeah.
Everything you said sometimes is like, geesh.
Yes, sex is actually also a very good way to manage yourself, your stress level, bond the couple and help you get good sleep when done right. So yes, that is also very helpful for managing your stress and getting good sleep. Make sure your bed is comfortable. If it is uncomfortable and it's causing you, you're waking up in the morning and things hurting, chances are you need to change the bed and or the pillow. Please organize and do that so that you can get good sleep. Yeah.
Yep.
There are tons more
Yeah.
and hints, but we're not going to take all night for that.
Yes, and the other question, I'm not seeing any questions from the audience, but the other question is, how can we get gynecologists and psychologists to talk more in the hopes of helping women to cope? And you kind of alluded to this at the beginning of the show with your patient.
I would say, one, the customer is always right. So, ladies, you'll have to demand that those two professionals connect.
Right.
Because if that's what you want and that's what you need, it is going to put pressure on both sides, both of them, to talk to each other to help you get the best result. Yeah. And they don't have to talk about every single detail. I mean, your gynecologist is not going to sit and tell your psychologist all of the physical things that are going on with you. He don't need that kind of, or she doesn't need that level of detail. Yeah. What they need to correspond on and be on the same page about is what is the approach to help deal with your emotional and psychological symptoms in the context of what's going on with you physically. So if we recognize you have PCOS and it's causing a depression and the birth control is causing a depression, making it worse, and you're not getting results, then your psychologist needs to communicate that to you at least and or to your gynecologist to let them know, hey, it might be the medication we're fighting here. So you might need to make a switch. Are there any other options we can use to help get the same result for this person?
Okay. So I guess the key is, ladies, is signaling to your doctors and your psychologists that
Yep.
I am seeing, well, you need to tell the gynecologist in the first instance that you are seeing a psychologist,
Yes.
a counselor, and also when you're going to see your therapist, let them know what else is happening in your life so that they can actually probably ask the right questions.
Yes. Use your voice.
Use
your
voice.
voice. Yeah.
Well, let's hope they don't have too much serotonin and they can't. Let's just hope that's not the case. Nicholas, it has again been a pleasure having a conversation with you. In the event that someone is interested in actually meeting with you or looking for consultation, tell us in terms of how can they contact you.
Oh, well, thank you. Best way to find me is to WhatsApp. My number is 1-868-780-0703. You could email me as well at nicholasvoza@hotmail.com or connect on Facebook and Instagram through @NAV Psychologist. That's my handle. I hope you find the content interesting and helpful. Best way to contact me is actually WhatsApp or through the messenger on Instagram. Email takes a little longer for me to reply to. Yeah.
Do you have hours in terms of contact between hours? Oh,
well, don't call me at 2:00 in the morning because you'll get a grumpy voice.
You answer the phone at 2:00 in the morning?
No, I will not. Well, actually, I do. But if you're not a regular and it's not urgent, then you'll get blocked. Yeah, so let's try and avoid that. Be respectful. Try me during work hours. Just send me a message during work hours. I will respond to you that day. I cannot promise to do it promptly because I'm in session quite often, but I will. I do clear all of my communication every single day.
Thank you so much. And guys, if as we said, if you are looking for other alternatives to getting help, because did mention those free channels, Ministry of Health.
Yes.
And FindCare TT.
FindCareTT.com or the Ministry of Health website or the Psychologist Association website, psychologytt.org. All of those have resources available for you, free and paid, to get
Yeah.
help. There's lots of help.
Lots of help, but the key is getting that help that you need. Um, it is not a low space in terms
No,
of our hormones. It
no.
is something we have to deal with, but it is treatable. Um, just need to understand it and find the right treatment for us, and then love who we are as
Yes.
individuals, embrace who we
Please
are.
love who you are. Don't
Love.
don't let a little hormonal imbalance get in the way of so many wonderful things.
Exactly. And actually, sometimes the hormonal imbalance brings out great things in you, really and truly. You know, you
Yes.
have, who knew you could have sang your opera, but you screaming like that.
It also may teach you things like resilience, compassion, understanding,
That is
right?
that is really that is so true. So, Nicholas, thank you again
You're
for
most welcome, Melissa.
supporting the Pearl Warrior Project. And we will see each other soon.
Yes, we will. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody. Good night,
Good
Melissa.
night.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye.
Bye.
So, guys, thank you again for watching show 3 of Pearl Warrior, Understanding Your Hormones, Embracing Yourself. Next week, next week, Thursday at 7 p.m., we will be speaking with Nicole Thomas about feeling good on the inside, looking good on the outside. It's more about self-esteem and helping you. Sometimes you're just not in the mood to dress and look your best self. So Nicola's going to show us how to do that. It has been a pleasure having a conversation with you all. The Hill Warrior Project was meant to not only spread awareness about PCOS, but also meant to uplift women with PCOS, have them feel better about themselves. You know, the H in Hill Warrior means healing holistically. And all these shows thus far have shown us that, it's not a it's not a one size fits all. We have to heal in a holistic way and collaborate with each other. And then it's also about embracing who you really are as an individual, and reclaiming your life. Do not let PCOS take control of your life. You have a lot going for you. Again, I am Melissa Kabong. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope to see you next week at 7 p.m. Good evening. I'm just going to have a little outro here in case you missed the show. But bye.